Wow, what a wonderful sight. I'd like to have the back door closed, please. Those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and by the way, this is the 48th luncheon of the series. Those of you that have been with us from the beginning, 2004 in Boston, Massachusetts. Understand that we have established a proud code of conduct. We start our meeting on time and we end on time, respecting everybody's time. And in this case, we're going to start 4 minutes early. So good afternoon. I am Mickey Ibarra, founder and chairman of the Latino Leaders Network, host of today's event. We are delighted to convene this 48th event of the series in Philadelphia during the Democratic National Convention. Just imagine the 48th since we began in 2004. And we're so grateful for all of you for being here. I understand perhaps better than most the ferocious competition for your time and attention. We are grateful all of you decided to show up today. You see, this event is a very unique platform. It's going to be tough to keep our sides engaged with this, but please help us. This is a very important event and a very unique platform. A platform built to share our personal stories with each other. I discovered while serving at the White House with President Clinton, where I first mustered enough courage to share my story, that our stories are powerful. And they need to be told. And every time they are, it gives us hope. It gives us motivation. It gives us encouragement. Inspires us, perhaps. Reminds us of our responsibility to be good to each other. To listen to each other. Understand each other. That's so important. One of my little tips in the book you've got in front of you, common sense is so uncommon. Now, in addition to growing a national footprint for the Latino Leaders Network since Boston in 2004, this year alone, Washington, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and on October 6th, we will close in Los Angeles, California, the 12th season of the Latino Leaders Luncheon series. Now, we'd like everybody to pull out your cell phones and follow us on Twitter. That's at LLN_USA. Please tweet about today's luncheon, about your experience, and encourage your networks to engage with us. Also use hashtag LLNPHL. I believe that's on the big screens also. I also want to welcome our viewers on live stream across the country and around the world. It's amazing. So please engage with us online as well. We begin our events with an invocation. Today is no exception. At this time, a Philadelphia leader, a Philadelphia area leader, Reverend Bonnie Camarda, Director of Partnerships for the Salvation Army and a tireless advocate for the poor, as President of the Hispanic Clergy of Philadelphia, will offer our invocation and bless our food. Reverend.
I am going to pray, but I want to do something very unique. If you are a woman and you are a CEO in the city of Philadelphia, would you stand? If you are a woman and you are a CEO, you don't have to applaud. I just want them to stand. Jennifer, where are you? Jennifer Rodriguez? Okay. If you are a woman and you are Latina and you are a leader in the city of Philadelphia, please stand. If you are a man, and before I start my gentlemen, I want to give thanks and honor to Nelson Diaz, who many years ago in 1981, 82, kind of say, you need to start being an advocate. Nelson, please stand. Women, keep standing. You guys keep standing. Reverend Luis Cortez Esperanza, who has taught me a lot in the last 30 years too, please stand, and he's in the room. And now, any other leader in this, I know that Ken Trujillo is here. Ken, please stand. I don't know where you are, I cannot see you, but please stand. Pedro Ramos, all of you leaders. I can't forget you, I know you're there. Sorry, this is the problem when you start naming people. I'm in trouble already. Yes. I want to read from the Salmo 133, Psalm 133. David dice, mirad cuán bueno y cuán delicioso es habitar los hermanos y hermanas igualmente en uno. Es como el buen óleo sobre la cabeza, el cual desciende sobre la barba de Aarón, y que baja hasta el borde de sus vestiduras, como el rocío de Hermón que desciende sobre los montes de Sión, porque allí envía Jehová bendición y vida eterna. Cuán bueno y agradable, how good is to dwell with brothers and sisters. How good is to be here today and be together in unity for the Latino of the United States. Let's pray. Father, we just thank you that we are able to be here today, that we be able to lift your name on high, that how important you are for our community and everyone who is really laboring in the United States. Father, I pray that you be with every person, every Latino descendant, no matter if they are Latino from, now they are American because they've been born here, that you will be with them, that you will teach them, that you will prosper, but that you will unite them. Lord, we are one in you, and I just pray that as Latino communities in these cities that we serve, we come together as one. We thank you for the good food that we are about to eat. We thank you for Mickey and his vision in the Latino Luncheon, and I pray that you will bless everyone. Thank you for the recipient of the Eagle Award too, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Okay, I'm going to him right now. We'd like to get everyone's attention once again. We are delighted now to be joined by our first special guest who's been invited to deliver a greeting. We need to, again, get your attention. We have a code of conduct. This is not the Democratic National Convention floor. We are delighted to be joined by Congressman Xavier Becerra of Los Angeles. Who is chairman of the House Democratic Caucus. Did you get that? Democratic House Caucus. Not only Congressional Hispanic Caucus, but House Caucus. Member of the Ways and Means Committee, and past chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and also former recipient of our Eagle Leadership Award in 2009. Please welcome the Honorable Xavier Becerra for our first special guest greeting.
Have you given it up yet for Mickey Ibarra? Mickey has been one of our champions. Without Mickey Ibarra, there would be no Latino leaders recognition. There would be no Latino leaders pushing and coming together. There would be no visible presence that could push an agenda for our community in Washington, D.C. So to Mickey, we have to say way, way more than thank you very much for everything you do. Muchísimas gracias. You ready for Thursday? Yes, sir. Are you ready for Thursday? What about last night? Did Michelle Obama rock or what? Woo. Woo. You got to give it to people of color. They know how to say it, man. I'm telling you right now. That's, you know why, though? Because we live it. We know what that's about. I mean, how powerful was it when she said that she talks to her daughters about the place where she lives, the house where she lives that was built by slaves. I'm going to tell you, as the son of a father who built many of the roads that you travel on, I know exactly what that means, because my father was the guy that was called a ditch digger on the side, that we're taught, don't you fail in school because you don't want to grow up to be like that ditch digger. Well, let me tell you, it's the ditch diggers, it's the bricklayers, it's the folks who build the foundation that make this country so great. And so I hope each and every one of you recognizes that we're here not just to have a great time with Mickey Ibarra, we're here to make a point. We understand what November 8th is all about. It's not an election, it's personal. This is about us. This is about us. And if you don't believe me, ask Judge Gonzalo Curiel. This is about us. If you don't believe me, ask your parents or your grandparents or your brothers and sisters if they came from another country before they claimed this as their home, what it means to be called a murderer or a rapist. If you don't think it's about us, ask our brothers and sisters in the Muslim American community if they feel comfortable and free to worship as they choose. And if you don't believe me, go talk to an American who's challenged physically with a disability but is doing everything to fight for this country. But yet you have a candidate for president who makes fun of you for working so hard to make it in America if it's not personal and about us. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great lunch, but please don't forget, in a little bit more than 100 days, we're going to show people that we recognize that this election, it is about us, and it is personal. And when we're done on November 9th, when you get up, get ready, because America will look a lot more like us. Thank you very much. Have a great lunch.
The mission of the Latino Leaders Network is bringing leaders together. With over 1,000 registered to attend this event today, we are grateful for your support. And while every guest in this room is worthy of acknowledgement, you're all very special to all of us. There are a few that must be recognized for all of us to understand and know. We sometimes believe we know each other. That's not true. But this is one opportunity we have to get to know each other, and we want to exercise that opportunity now. And first, We had over 300 delegates to this convention register for this luncheon. And I'd like all of our delegates to please stand up and be recognized. All of our delegates. All of you will be a part of history in the making. And I want to congratulate you on behalf of the Latino Leaders Network for showing up to do the hard work necessary to have your voices heard. I'm joined by my board of directors, who I'm very proud of. All of you that serve on boards, and my guess is that's nearly everyone here, understand that in a nonprofit world, the pay's not too great. And our board is very important to me. Led by Ken Trujillo of Philadelphia. Ken. Also Ruben Alvarez of Phoenix. We have Michelle Mingus of New York. Maria Teresa Kumar, who we'll be hearing from in a bit too. Maria Teresa. And also my brother all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah, our hometown, David Ibarra. I want to mention two folks that dropped by earlier. Congressman Steny Hoyer, the House Democratic Whip, as well as Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, chair of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Now, CHC members, I don't have all of you here, but I do want to recognize those that are here. We'll hear from the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and perhaps, Linda, you can grab a hold of those ones that I obviously missed. I'm not as good at this as you are. Delighted that Pete Aguilar of California is in the house. Where's Pete? There he is. Loretta Sánchez was with us earlier, not only a member of Congress, but a candidate for the United States Senate from California. Our good friend from McAllen, Texas, Ruben Hinojosa. Ruben. There are other members of Congress here, and you'll understand that we need to move on with our program. But with members of Congress that I haven't been able to recognize, please stand up and let's do that together. Members of Congress, anyone? Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you, Lucille. Lucille Roybal Allard of Los Angeles. Thank you. I also see another name that I want to acknowledge, the former Secretary of Labor, former nearly every elected official office in California, but now Supervisor Hilda Solis. There are some other elected officials, all of you may be aware, not all of you perhaps, but I had the privilege of serving as President Clinton's Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for nearly 4 years. And then that responsibility served as his liaison with all local and state elected officials, including the territory, the Commonwealths, all of that. Puerto Rico's in the house. Yes, sir. We have Alex Padilla, the Secretary of State of California. Alex? Pedro Cortez, Secretary of State of Pennsylvania. Pedro? Delighted to be joined by Senator Eduardo Batia, President of the Puerto Rico Senate. Senator? A very special guest, so excited for him and for us. Senator Adriano Espaillat of New York. Now, the senator has just won the Democratic primary in New York for the United States Congress. Now, we have one more important step, and that's to get elected in November. But this particular district that was represented for many, many years by Charlie Rangel, I like his chances, and will become the first Dominican-American member of the United States Congress. We have many state legislators, council members, many others, but there is several more I want to recognize. Delighted to be joined by Assemblyman Luis Alejo, who is the chair of the California Latino Legislative Caucus. Luis? He's here, or was. And also community leaders. Well, there's several mayors, excuse me. I see Mayor Greg Stanton right here. Mayor of Phoenix, Mayor Stanton. I also saw Mayor Robert Garcia of Long Beach. Mayor? Leaders, I just saw Arturo Vargas of Naleo walk in. Where's Arturo? Hector Barreto, Latino Coalition. Is Hector here? Hector. We also have Roger Rocha, the president of LULAC. Roger. Dominica Lynch, the new president of CHCI. Marianne Gomez, the president of Chile, executive director. A local leader, a real star. Cynthia Figueroa, president of Congresso, major organization here in. Cynthia, right here, has just been named by Mayor Kenney, the new mayor of Philadelphia. She will become the new commissioner for Philadelphia Department of Human Services. Congratulations. Also, Hector Sánchez of the National Hispanic Leadership Agenda. Hector? So proud to be joined by Javier Palomares, president of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Let me make a point. Like the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Latino Leaders Network doesn't take in political partisan positions. And yet the USHCC has stepped forward for the first time in its history to take a stand in this race for the presidency of our country. And I thank Javier for having the courage to share his judgment and the judgment of his members on who ought to be the next president of this country. Thank you, Javier. So proud to be joined by the diplomatic corps today. His Excellency Carlos Manuel Sada Solana, the Ambassador of Mexico. His Excellency Ramon Gil Casares of Spain. Also, our beloved former ambassador of the United States to Spain, Ed Romero. Also, the former director of the Peace Corps for President Bush, a wonderful leader in his own right, who was honored at our event a week ago in Cleveland, Gaddy Vasquez of Edison. Gaddy, where are you at? No, right here. Thank you. Also, again at the Diplomatic Corps, Arturo Valenzuela, the former Assistant Secretary for the Western Hemisphere. We also have His Excellency Ron Dermer, the Ambassador from Israel. Ambassador, thank you. Also, the Mayor of Tucson, Jonathan Rothschild, is here with us. Mayor. Now, hang in there just a little bit longer. We've got some public servants that deserve our recognition. Led by former Governor of New Mexico, former Ambassador to the United Nations, former Secretary of the Energy, and I'm sure I've missed a lot of other things, Congressman, what have you, and former candidate for President of the United States in 2008, Bill Richardson. Hey, Bill, I know I missed something, and that was also the recipient of the Eagle Leadership Award in 2007. We're joined by Rudy Becerra, who last week, along with Gary Vasquez, received our Eagle Leadership Award in Cleveland. Rudy Becerra. Rudy. Earlier, I had a chance to visit with Leticia Van de Putte, the former NHCSL president, former member of the Texas State Senate, and also recipient of our Eagle Leadership Award in 2006, Leticia Van de Putte. I see Mayor Marty Chavez of Albuquerque, also a past honoree of the Latino Leaders Network. Also, former Supervisor Gloria Molina, who received this award in 2008. Gloria, where are you at? And now, a word from our sponsors. The Latino Leaders Luncheon series, the network indeed, could not exist if it weren't for the good partnerships established by and with corporate America. We want to take the time to give two of them a chance to deliver some remarks. Among the very best is the Anheuser-Busch Foundation, our premier sponsor of today's luncheon in Philadelphia. And representing the Anheuser-Busch Foundation is a great friend of ours, Andrew Baldonado, Vice President of U.S. Government Affairs. Andrew, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. This is really a truly humbling and an inspiring day and an opportunity for me. I'm kind of sitting at the head table, which if my mom and dad could see me now, they'd be quite impressed to be sitting with Representative Linda Sánchez, Dolores Huerta, Antonio Villaraigosa, my good friend Xavier Becerra, Governor Richardson from New Mexico, where my father's from, and hopefully Henry will join us at some point. But really, on behalf of the 16,000 employees of Anheuser-Busch here in the U.S., I want to thank you. I want to welcome you to the Latino Leaders Network Luncheon. We certainly are honored and proud to sponsor this. I've been working with Mickey for many years. We're with you 4 years ago in Charlotte, 8 years ago in Denver, and really a truly, I hate to overuse the word, but inspiring opportunity to look out across this room with so many friends and to watch really what's so inspiring is just this room gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time, and it's a testament to the leaders in this room and just the amazing work that every one of you do back in your cities, in your communities, in your districts. And I just want to say thank you. It really is an honor to be here. The weather is warm, so you can always count on me to make a little plug, on behalf of the Bud Light Party. We brewed plenty of it. Stay hydrated, stay cool, enjoy, have a wonderful time, and thank you very much.
I'll tell you, I am so proud of all of you. Would folks help me out in that back there? We need to have that door closed. It's very distracting. I feel like a center fielder. Just close the door in the back, please. I've got my team back there. Let's close it. Thank you. I'm going to take a break from the program for a minute for a very good reason. One of the many reasons I love this event is everybody wants to be here. And we're so proud to be joined by perhaps the next majority leader of the United States Senate, Senator Schumer. Senator, please.
I am going to be very brief because I know you have a big program, but I just want to say one sentence. If God willing, I become majority leader, we will pass immigration reform in the first 3 months that we get there. Thank you. God bless you.
All right, Senator, we all heard that. And we're going to hold you accountable. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have now been joined also by another special guest that I'd like to acknowledge, a hero to everyone in this room, Henry Cisneros. NextGen Climate. NextGen Climate is serving as the event co-sponsor. We could not have built this event as big as we needed to meet demand without the help of Tom Steyer, founder and president, for their support. Please welcome Tom to the podium for sponsor remarks.
So I'm very excited about being here today, and I'm very excited about this convention in general because we are going to nominate the first woman president of the United States, Hillary Clinton. And she is going to follow the first African-American president of the United States, Barack Obama. And I think we all have to ask the question, how long can it be until we have the first Latino president of the United States? And I think we also know that that first Latino president is going to be a Democrat or Latina. Man or woman, it's going to be a Democrat. And the reason that's true is because the Democratic Party recognizes that our diversity is our strength. I am from California. California is a majority-minority state. That is our strength. And I think that I have been telling people from outside California now for over 20 years that the Republican Party was going to commit suicide nationally just the way they did in 1994 in California when Pete Wilson tried to push Prop 187. And that was the end of the Republican Party in California for the foreseeable future. And what Donald J. Trump is doing in the United States is the exact same thing nationally. Because the fact of the matter is, we have a diverse country. Our strength is our diversity. What we're trying to do at NextGen this year is to push as hard as we can to get as many people registered, engaged, and participating in the political process as we can. We're doing the largest voter registration drive in the history of California. We're partnering with groups like the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, United Farm Workers, Dolores Huerta, PICO, and many others across the state, because we believe that the strongest democracy is the broadest democracy. That when people's voices and votes are counted, we not only get the fairest decisions, we get the best decisions. So let's make this year a historic year, but let's not forget, this is the year when Americans decide they're voting Democratic, not just this year, but for the rest of their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. We also have been joined by Nellie Gorbea, the Secretary of State of Rhode Island. Nellie? I also want to recognize Senator Iris Martinez, who is the DNC Hispanic Caucus Chair. And we have another former governor in the room, Governor Anibal Azevedo of Puerto Rico. Governor. Now, many of you attended the network reception earlier. This reception was made possible by Geico Insurance prior to the lunch. And we owe Rinthia Rost, Vice President of Public Affairs for Geico, our thanks. Thank you, Rinthia. Also thanks to Lydia Martinez and Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Latino Leaders Luncheon Series. All of you have a copy of my little book. It took me 30 years to learn everything in that little book. And it's going to take you less than 30 minutes to read it. And thanks to PICO and also ComEd, this book has been made possible for all of you. So please give it up to Romy Diaz, his colleagues here at ComEd and PICO. Also thanks to our VIP sponsors today, Bank of America, Edison International, Pacific Gas and Electric, and UPS. Please, thanks to all of our sponsors. Special guest greeting number 2. We are pleased to be joined by the Congresswoman Linda Sánchez of California. Who is chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Congresswoman Sánchez has broken many barriers in Congress, including the first Latina to serve on the House Judiciary Committee and the first Latina on the House Ways and Means Committee. Please welcome the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the Honorable Linda Sánchez, for a greeting. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everybody. Pace yourselves. It's going to be a long week. I want to thank Mickey for hosting today's event because it's great for all of us to get in one room, talk to one another, figure out a strategy for moving ahead, figure out a strategy for lifting our community up. For those of you who traveled thousands and thousands of miles to be here today, thank you for making the time to come. You know, being a Latino leader today isn't easy. And with the daily attacks that we hear against our community, it's not getting any easier. But we have to keep up the fight. We represent the fastest growing demographic group in the country. We're the largest untapped potential in the nation's electorate. And there is so much work that we still need to do to keep up with our community and to lift it up. I know many of you, in your way, give back, you dedicate yourself to service, you make sacrifices each day, sacrifices that I'm all too aware of as a working mom. As chairwoman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, I am the voice that collects the talent of our 26 members in the fight with you to have a voice in the priorities that matter the most for our community. And not surprisingly, the things our community cares about most and needs most are little things like job creation, a little bit of retirement security, how about access to health care, and of course, immigration reform. But the diversity of our membership is our strength, and I remind people all the time, the Hispanic community isn't monolithic. We have members from different backgrounds, and we're going to be welcoming the first Dominican American member to our ranks as well. But that diversity really is our strength. CHC members serve on every committee in the House, and they are experts on just about every issue that our Congress and our country deals with. Our members have backgrounds as business owners, attorneys, doctors, engineers, just to name but a few of the professions, but we are much, much more than that. And what our goal is to bring that Latino perspective to every issue that our country grapples with. And while immigration reform is a top priority, and I make no mistake about that, we care a lot about other issues as well. This election cycle is really a critical election cycle for our community. We are really on the cusp of having our voices heard. You know, when I look out to a group like this and I hear corporate America, which has a very low diversity rate, which is one of the initiatives we're pushing, and I hear corporate leaders say, well, we just can't find enough Hispanic talent out there, I look at a room like this and I say, really? Where are you looking? Because you're certainly not looking hard enough. That's why this election cycle is really critical. People are watching the Latino community closely to see whether or not we are engaged and whether or not we merely raise our voice or whether or not we roar in this election cycle. There's a lot of motivation for our community to show up at the polls, but the tragedy would be if they didn't. And that's why my entreaty to all of you this afternoon is please, please make it your mission, I've made it my mission, to get to every single eligible voter that you can, get them registered to vote, get them engaged in the process, and please, please get them to turn out on Election Day. That means your friends, even the ones you may not agree with all the time, your neighbors, your family members, your co-workers, everybody who you can think of that you can touch that is an eligible to register to vote, please make it your mission to get them to show up at the polls. Because we cannot exercise our full potential as a community if we are not speaking up with a loud, unmistakable voice in the November elections. Since I'm sitting next to Dolores Huerta, I'm just gonna say, Cesar Chavez, huge hero of mine, and his motto was "Si se puede," but I wanna update that just a little bit for today's modern times, and I wanna say, "Si se puede, si votamos." Yes, we can if we vote. Thank you.
Boy, have we got leadership. And we're joined by 3 additional leaders of our community that we want to also acknowledge. Are they here, Samantha? Okay. Congressman Joaquin Castro and Secretary Julian Castro, our honoree. And I also understand we've been joined by one of our primetime speakers from last night's convention, also a former recipient of the Eagle Leadership Award, Eva Longoria. Eva, where are you? Delighted to have you here with us. Now, we are not going to break the program to serve the main course. I've just asked the staff to serve over top of us so we can make sure we honor our commitment to complete this program by 2 p.m. Now, at every Luncheon Series event, the Latino Leaders Network reserves 3 minutes for a community partner. Today we hear from Maria Teresa Kumar, founding president and CEO of Voto Latino. Under her leadership, Voto Latino has become a key factor in national elections. And in addition to serving as a Latino Leaders Network board member, Maria is an Emmy-nominated MSNBC commentator and was host of the web show Changing America. She is a frequent guest analyst on NPR, PBS, and other stations. Please welcome Maria Teresa to the podium. So glad to have you here.
And actually, Mickey cannot leave the stage just quite yet, because the reason that Voto Latino ever came on my radar was because of you, Mickey. Mickey, you are the epitome of not only paying it forward, but cultivating leadership. And I think it's so funny. I was talking to Seti Hoyer, and he said, Mickey has a lot of friends. I'm like, you have no idea. So thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you. Okay.
My name is Maria Teresa Kumar, and I want to thank everyone in this room. Voto Latino started 12 years ago, and it was not possible because of so many folks in this room that made it possible. That has helped underwrite us, but more importantly, have become friends, counsel, and participation. And in those 10 years, we've been able to register 250,000 voters with your help, re-grant $500,000 to tech ideas so that Latino young kids can solve the problems locally. And we've been able to train over 3,200 young people so that they can pay it forward. But the reason I say this is because Voto Latino was a minuscule of an idea that folks in this room invested in and believed in, because they knew the importance of ensuring that our young people could participate in the electoral process. And our work is not done. As many leaders that we have cultivated here, I also want to recognize the dreamers that have made this moment in many ways possible. Where are the dreamers? And like so many first-generation folks, I am the embodiment and the dreams of my mother. She sacrificed so that I could have choices. And with those choices, there are responsibilities. And our responsibility is to make sure that we are laying the groundwork for so many more. And I want to take stock of what the Latino community has triggered. 10 years ago, young people organized and marched using MySpace and text messaging. They left their classrooms and said, not on our watch are our parents going to be the scapegoats. One more time. And in those 10 years, we have seen young people have movements that triggered not just the immigration movement, but the Occupy Wall Street, Fight for 15, the environment, choice, and Black Lives Matter. But it was cemented in our young people in the Latino community. And so when we say that we are 27 million strong when it comes to voters, why are we all of a sudden satisfied when we hear that 50% of us are going to come out? We should not be satisfied with 50% of us coming out to register to participate, because this is the moment that we've been waiting for. This is the moment that we've been training for. California, Proposition 187 showed us exactly what needed to get done. They came after us. We came home for Thanksgiving and on Christmas. We had conversations with our family and said, not one more. Folks are getting away with really horrible rhetoric because they're not afraid of us. But now's the time for us to pump our muscle. And one of the ways we want to be able to do that is through technology. So Voto Latino has created this app that you can go ahead and download right now. It's my only plug, I promise you, called VoterPal. If you download it, not only are you going to be able to register yourself in 10 seconds, you still have to print it, but register, but then you can go ahead and register every single person around your table. And I want us to get prepared. 4 years ago, Voto Latino co-founded National Voter Registration Day with 3 other organizations. On one single day, we were able to get over 1,200 partners, register 300,000 people, and we were able to get over 900 million media impressions. Last year, we did a beta program with Mi Familia Vota. We had 120 organizations participate, and in one day, we registered 19,000 people. So it's possible. So just as you have helped build Voto Latino in the last 12 years, I need you all to help build Hispanic Heritage Month on Action on September 15th. When you look at the margins of victory in Virginia, Latinos represent 4% of the Virginia population. The margin of error, when people started coming after our communities being anti-immigrant, anti-undocumented, was less than 3.5%. We pushed it over the top. So 27 million sounds like a big number, but when you start looking locally, we probably know everybody. They're probably our primos, our tías, our abuelas. But we need to stand up and have the courage to say not one more. Because we are at a crossroads, and let's believe that let's not forget that in 5 years, if we don't start actually establishing the tools that we need today, redistricting is on the horizon. If we want to change the map, we have to make sure that we register as many people as possible. I am about to get off my sandbox. I'm literally going to get hooked off the stage by Mickey Ibarra. But I want to thank each and every one of you. Please download VoterPal. Please visit Hispanic Heritage Month of Action so you can get the information that you need. And more importantly, please join us at Voto Latinos tomorrow night at the Living Arts Center for a 16-piece band so we can dance a little bit before the hard work begins. Thank you so much.
And now we've been joined by Eva Longoria. Please give it up. Eva, before you arrived, we mentioned you were a past recipient of the Eagle Leadership Award. And we're grateful to have you here with us. Now the main event. The main event. As I mentioned, we've been joined by Henry Cisneros, who is another trailblazing former mayor of San Antonio, former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development for President Clinton. We're going to just pause for a moment and get this all out of the way. Eva also said before you arrived, you made us very proud last night. Terrific job, terrific job. Henry was presented the 2011 Eagle Leadership Award. And by the way, with my team, we've lost the Eagle Leadership Award. So go find it in the back and bring it up here, would you please? Again, the recipient in 2011, the Honorable Henry Cisneros. Please join me in welcoming Henry to the podium.
Thank you. Mickey Ibarra knows how to put on a party, wouldn't you say? My goodness, this is outstanding. I have been coming to Democratic conventions for a lot of years, and to see an aggregation of Latino leaders like you in this number is a glorious thing. I was talking to Pali Baca in the back of the room, who's probably been coming to these conventions more than any others of us. She's just come to many, many, many. And again, she commented what a wonderful thing it is to see Latinos gathered in this force. And when I look across this room and see the people who have accomplished so much in so many positions of responsibility, We have people who have served in the Congress as senators, people who have been in the cabinet, people who have served at the local level, people who've served the Democratic Party, people who've been considered for the vice presidency. I mean, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Let's hear it, just a wonderful celebration of what it means to be a Democrat and a Latino. Mickey, thank you. I have the unique perspective of having known Julian and Joaquin Castro since before they were born. So it's a special treat to be asked to come up here and utter a few words of tribute in anticipation of my friend Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who will do the official introduction. But I had the good fortune of growing up in San Antonio in the community that has created talents like Joaquin and Julian, who we honored today. The very first day that I arrived at kindergarten at St. Teresa's Elementary School, the first person I met was a woman named Rosie Castro. Rosie Castro, the mother of Joaquin and Julian, and I went through elementary school. I remember her clearly. She emerged as one of the leading activists, Democrats, Chicana, Latina leaders of our city. Indeed, I would say a San Antonio that was contentious and difficult in the 1950s and 60s changed at a period of time. Civil rights movement, the Chicano movement, all of it came together. And one of the people who was most responsible for creating that moment of change was Rosie Castro, a wonderful human being. And she raised these two young men. Later, she came to work at City Hall, and I remember her bringing her sons, her twin sons, to City Hall in those days, and I remember them from that era. I observed them as they went through high school. One of my best friends was their tennis coach, Roxy Gallardo, and observed them as they were at Stanford. My daughter was at Stanford at the same time, so there's just an immense number of interconnections that go way back to the personal. And then Julian was elected to the city council, Joaquin was elected state representative, and it was clear a new era of intelligent, articulate political involvement was beginning for San Antonio. Julian was elected mayor, and he did an outstanding job. The first ever program of pre-K for children, sponsored by a city government. Imagine taking to the voters a property tax increase in order to fund pre-K children's education in campuses around the city, and it passed because of the intelligent way that he pursued it. He declared the era of the downtown, the decade of the downtown, a city that had a working downtown, but never residential downtown, never with all of the amenities. And today there are thousands, even tens of thousands of units of residential going up in the downtown to add on to the splendor that you recognize as the Riverwalk and the convention complex and the rest of it. Just a first-class mayor. So much so that, of course, President Obama recognized it and asked him to come and be the Secretary of Housing for the entire United States, the president's emissary to all of the cities and all the mayors all across the country. And at HUD, he has pioneered in reopening the doors of home ownership and opportunity, of affordable rentals for innumerable families across the country. So it has been a special experience for me to have been able to observe all of this over all these years. And what I'd like to share for just a very few moments here is the personal traits that I have seen evolve, develop, manifest themselves in this time. Julian has developed over his life, in part because of his mother and the nature of that upbringing, a keen sense of public service. He's dedicated his life to those issues of social justice and fairness. As a public official, he has been accessible and open and balanced in his judgments, fair and open and looking for solutions. He has been hardworking and he has been dedicated. He has been an articulate, persuasive explainer of public policy to the public. And very importantly, at every stage of his career, at every stage of service, at every stage of preparation, he's upheld the public interest, both by his conduct and comportment, as well as by the content of his ideas. In short, Julian Castro has made a difference that Latinos can be proud of all across the United States. So for all of these reasons, on behalf of the people of my hometown, Julian and Joaquin's hometown, San Antonio, people who raised us, people we love, and on behalf of all the people across the country whose lives have been touched by the quality of public service that Julian has brought even early in his career, it is my honor to say thank you, Julian. Thank you for the example. Thank you for the leadership. Thank you.
Before the next speaker, code of conduct. Those in the back, please take your conversations outside the hall. If there's someone talking to you at the table, would you ask them to wait till the event is over? Respect for our leadership. Thank you. The Honorable Antonio Villaraigosa made us all so proud when elected the 41st mayor of Los Angeles, California in 2005. The first Latino elected mayor since 1872. And he was rewarded for his outstanding leadership with re-election in 2009 to a second four-year term. Mayor Villaraigosa previously served as Speaker of the California Assembly and a member of the Los Angeles City Council. In addition, he served as President of the United States Conference of Mayors in 2012, making him, in essence, the nation's mayor. Honored twice with the Eagle Leadership Award in 2005 as mayor-elect, and 4 years ago, yes, at this event 4 years ago, Antonio Villaraigosa served as chair of the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte. Welcome, Antonio Villaraigosa, for the introduction of our honoree.
I love Mickey. I said, you know, he always gives all of us such a generous introduction, and I want you to know I wrote it all myself. But let me say something about Mickey. You know, I've been coming to these virtually since the beginning. I think a number of us have. And what the Latino Leaders Luncheon reminds us of, this network of Latino leaders, is the importance of us connecting to one another. That we're stronger together, that from time to time we may have disagreements, but we have to come to one place, a place where we feel safe, a place where we can thrive. And that's been the Latino Leaders Network. And I joke with some of my friends, some of us have been in battle from time to time. The one thing we have in common is we love and respect Mickey Ibarra. Give him a big hand. The Latino Leaders Network, the board, thank you very much for bringing us together here at this convention. Thank you. You know, I hate going up after Henry Cisneros. Imagine. It's not my first rodeo, and it's not the first time I've had to go after Henry. But actually, I say that in jest. Because what I want to talk about, since Henry shared his entire resume, what I want to talk about is why I feel so proud to be here. Why Henry feels so proud to be here. Why Bill feels so proud to be here. Why so many of us feel very, very proud today. I've often said, when mentioned or told about being the first, the role of the first is not to bang on your chest and say how great I am. The role of the first is to open up the door for the rest. At my inauguration as mayor, I said I come here on the shoulders of others. We're here, every one of us are here on the shoulders of Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. We're here because there was a Civil Rights Act and a Voting Rights Act that opened up the country. We're here on the shoulders of giants, Gloria Molina, who got me started, who used to pull me by the oreja, a little different than you. Julian, you had Henry. I had Gloria. Esta oreja está chueco por tantos jalando de las orejas. But you know, in LA, we had Richard Alatorre and Art Torres, and across the nation, and of course, we had Ed Roybal, our leader, and among the first. And so when we see the next generation, and you know, you mentioned the resume and his college education. You know, some of us who got started, me at 15 with the farm workers boycott, you know, I was a high school dropout. I had been kicked out of school before that. I had gone down a road, you know, up and down and all around, and finally got where I needed to be. The next generation were more prepared. The next generation had parents that focused on education, that gave them a high ceiling and a high bar to jump. And what I marvel about when I think of Julian was that speech in 2012. I was there. I was standing as the chair, watching him, proud. Watching him talk about his mother, talking about her sacrifices, talking about a woman who carried those two boys and took them to City Hall and gave them good values and inculcated in their heads from the beginning, I'm proud to be an American, but I'm proud to be a Mexican as well. And when you, yeah, let's give them, his mother, a big hand. And you know, hearing him tell his story and remembering where he came from and remembering what his journey was, but also what his responsibility is, couldn't make, I think, all of us prouder. So Bill, you know, is standing there, and he's got more titles than most of us will ever have in our lifetime. And his life still has plenty of life in it. Henry as well. But what we're so proud is because we know this next generation are going to take us even further. Because you know the other thing I say, when you open up the door for the rest, when they get through that door, they'll go farther than you. They will reach for the stars and follow their dreams. They will go to places that none of us ever imagined. And I think that's why so many of us are proud to be here today, to celebrate Julian's short time in public life. But what a time it's been. You know, we heard what he's done as mayor, just revitalized downtown. We know what he's done as the housing administration. I was told to be careful about that, so I will. But why we celebrate him is we know he's got still a lot further to go. And so today, we celebrate your work, the work of your brother, because you guys are tied at the hip in more ways than one. Your family, your bigger family. We celebrate you, we acknowledge your leadership, we're proud of you. And so it is my honor to introduce a man who needs no introduction at this young and tender age of his, Julian Castro. Don't you love Henry? Just takes your damn thunder.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. First of all, to Antonio, you know, the first time that Antonio and I spoke was on June 7th, 2005. I remember that day because that was the day of my first mayoral election in San Antonio, and it was 10 days before he became the mayor of Los Angeles. And as you can imagine, it was election day in San Antonio, and so we were busy doing a million things, and I'm sure that it was 10 days away, and he was busy doing a million things in LA, but he took the time that afternoon to reach out and to say to me, good luck. I hope that you win in San Antonio. If you win, it's going to mean a lot, not just for the people of San Antonio, but for the nation. I'll always remember that, Antonio. I lost that night, but you won 10 days later, and Los Angeles won, and California won, and the entire community won because of that. Thank you for your leadership. I also, of course, want to profoundly thank Henry and Mary Alice, his lovely wife, who I served on the city council with. You know, when Joaquin and I were growing up in San Antonio in the 1980s, as Henry mentioned, my mother worked at City Hall, but Henry was a trailblazer, a groundbreaker, the first Hispanic mayor of a major American city, someone who was showing what could be done at the local level and getting national attention, and really served as a role model to so many of us who, when we looked for leaders that we could see some of ourselves in, we looked at Henry. And his leadership has continued. And through the years, he's never hesitated to offer his advice as a friend. For that, I want to thank you, Henry. You've made a lot of difference. Thank you for your leadership. There are so many folks that make us so proud in the Latino community that are here, and I know that if I start trying to go through everybody, I'm going to miss folks and offend them, but let me just thank Dolores Huerta, because Dolores is a living legend. That it's true that without her, so many of us in this generation wouldn't have nearly the opportunity that we have in this country. Thank you, Dolores, for all of your leadership and every door that you have opened over the years. I also, of course, want to thank Eva, and I want to thank Javier Palomares and Brent Wilkes and all of the folks who are making a difference, maybe not in public service, but in the nonprofit sector and the private sector. And of course, I want to thank Mickey and the Latino Leaders Network. Mickey reached out to me before I was a mayor, when I was on the city council, I think 26 or 27 years old. Because Mickey, you have always concerned yourself with making sure that the next generation has the kind of opportunity that you have had. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. And of course, I want to acknowledge my brother, Joaquin, who is here today. You know, earlier we were on the CBS Morning Show, and Charlie Rose asked us, which one of you is going to run against Ted Cruz in 2018? And the first thing I said was, well, probably 0 of us. And he shot right back, well, he's speaking for himself. So, I think he's living up to the reputation of the more outgoing, extroverted twin today. I'm convinced that I wouldn't be nearly where I am in life if it weren't for Joaquin and the fact that we have been best friends ever since before we were born. And so thank you, Joaquin, for being here as well and for your great leadership. I like the kid folks, and Joaquin goes around telling people that the way to tell us apart is that I'm a minute uglier than he is. And I like to remind folks that, we both live in Washington, but I'm the only one who actually works in Washington. So I want to thank y'all for this recognition. As Antonio said, I am proud to be an American, and I am proud of my Mexican heritage as well. Joaquin and I grew up like Henry did on the west side of San Antonio. We grew up with our grandmother who had come over from Mexico when she was 6 years old as an orphan. She worked her entire life as a maid, a cook, and a babysitter because she got taken out of school by the relatives that she lived with when she was young. Because of that, she never made a lot of money in life, but she raised a daughter, our mother, to graduate from high school and then go on to college. When we were growing up with her and with my mom, my mother was a bit of a hellraiser in her youth. She was active in the Chicano movement, in the Raza Unida party, and she ran for city council in San Antonio when she was 23 years old, and it was a time in 1971 before very many women and very many minorities actually got elected in big cities, before Henry broke through in 1981 and became mayor. And, I remember a couple of things about my mom that really helped shape who we are. The first was attending our 6th grade orientation. We showed up to 6th grade orientation at one of the schools, the neighborhood school. We were about to start middle school, and at some point in the orientation, one of the administrators stood up and they asked us to look around the room. We were there, a whole bunch of other students and the parents, and my mom was there. And this administrator asked us to look around the room and said that the chances were that by the time we were supposed to leave the 8th grade, that maybe up to half of us wouldn't be there anymore. And, that didn't mean that much to us at the age of 11 or 12, but later that day, my mother pulled us out of that school, and she put us in another one a little bit further down. And she told us later that she would never keep her sons anywhere where they didn't believe that they could at least finish the 8th grade. The other thing that I remember in her City Hall office, in the basement, she used to have her office for part of the time, was that she had this little cartoon placard that said, "God is coming, and boy is she pissed." So we grew up with a mother who instilled in us this sense that we had value, that we could achieve, that we should dream big, and that people of all different backgrounds had something to contribute to the forward progress of our nation. We grew up and eventually decided to go into public service ourselves. I decided to go into public service because when I went away to college, it was the first time that I had ever really been away from home. And I could see in the Bay Area around Stanford that there was a community that had a higher income level, a higher education level, that was more innovative and entrepreneurial. At the same time, I came to value even more what I loved about San Antonio, that it was such a culturally rich city, that it was a wonderful place to raise a family, that it was somewhere that when two people passed each other on the street, that they still looked each other in the eye, that there was still a sense of connection, a sense of community that existed. And my interest in public service came out of the question of how could you combine the best of those two things, create a community that was ready for the future, that was innovative, had a good education level, and at the same time had a wonderful fundamental character and a cultural richness to it. And it was a thrill of my life to get to succeed Henry eventually as mayor and to serve San Antonio. And I know that in this room, whether through public service or through business or education or the arts, that you feel blessed, as I do, with opportunity as well. And that's why you do what you do. I want to thank the so many people who are here who are making a difference in expanding opportunity in your own right. It's also, I think, right at the heart of why we gathered this week to ensure that this election produces an outcome that will expand opportunity in our country and not take it away. A few years ago, I had the chance to visit Israel, and I sat down for about an hour with President Shimon Peres. And I'll never forget that one of the things he told me back then was that we use mirrors, like a physical mirror, to look at ourselves, and based on how we look in the mirror, we make improvements, comb our hair or shave. We make physical improvements. And then he asked, what is the mirror for the soul? I believe that November is all about what is the mirror of this nation's soul? What is it that we can reach for that will ensure that we stay on course, that as a nation we are who we're supposed to be, who we always have been? And the answer, of course, is that those are our values. Our values are a kind of mirror. It's my hope that through your work in all of those different sectors, through your life's accomplishments, through your effort, that we will remain true as a nation that expands opportunity, expands equality, and expands liberty. I know that it's been the thrill of my life to get to do and play a small part in that. And I know in the years to come that we'll continue to celebrate so many of the accomplishments of the folks in this room who are also making us proud. So Mickey, thank you very much for the recognition. I appreciate it. And let's win in November. Thank you.
I'd like to ask the Board of Director members to come forward to assist me in presenting our award. Come on right over here, gang. The Eagle Leadership Award. Julian, on behalf of the Latino Leaders Network, we are pleased to present this Eagle Leadership Award for your outstanding service to our community and to our nation. Julian Castro. If you just give me a moment, I've got a couple of announcements to make, and we are going to finish on time once again. First, calendar, as I mentioned, will close the 12th season on October 6th in Los Angeles. Also, I want everybody to thank our event team led by Jennifer Bonilla and all the ISG members. Thank you. Finally, we have a distribution table at the back for materials that may interest you. Again, we also want to announce the National Hispanic Leadership Agenda, their policy briefing at the Rabin Respite between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m., 1218 Arch Street. So, everyone, thank you so much for being with us. This concludes our program.